2022 is the year to define and complete the Nigerians revolution that we started in 2018. There's always a time that we do not have to move with the waves, a time not to swim with the tides or dance with currents, a time to make decisions that will determine the moments to come, time to decide how long the system will keep running, time that decides how long a slave will be a slave. It's also decide when the oppressed will throw their chains into oblivion forever. We have been on the side of the history for the larger part of our political life. We have spoken when many others have been shut up. We have been standing when millions have been cowed and kept down on their knees. The system really wants us to be divided along ethnic, religious, and such other sentiments, other political, social, and economic, that could tell that there's no unity of the oppressed. But we are here to say that an end has come to the Nigerian oppression as we know it and as we have always fought it. But this is a decisive year, the new year of 2022. This is why the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari could not take care of his own people, even though they use ethnicity as a way of garnering support and blindfolding their own people. Before him, as you guys are aware, there was a Goodluck Jonathan who could not resolve the Niger Delta crisis. He could not construct a bridge to the southeastern part of the country, what is now known as the Second Niger Bridge. Before Goodluck Jonathan, there was an Olusegun Obasanjo who was the president of Nigeria, who had no positive impact on his own part of the country. And this is what they've always been. They are a set of rogues, set of fascist leaders who have held Nigeria to ransom up until today. In 2021, there was a consolidation of this impending revolution that we're talking about. And those of you who have followed us, and 2021 in particular, can tell, categorically that we had a refreshing year. It was a year that we decided that the very wicked acts of massacre of NSAS protesters did not, get away unchallenged. It was a year that we started with a crossover night vigil that landed me and some of my colleagues in detention for 11 days. That led me with a broken nose that you are seeing today permanently on my face. This vigil was done nationally, and it was done with such act of bravery that crystallized with strategic battles between the oppressed and the rulers of Nigeria. The comrades of our comrades, turned the entire year to a revolutionary engagement. And this engagement transpired across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria. And it led not only our leaders in a defensive state, but it actually led to the destruction of what used to be the myth of the dictatorship in Nigeria. You have heard about the Occupy Lekki toll gates, mass actions. You heard about not bleeding mass action that we ended the year with, and it showed to us that our oppressors who have used divisive actions failed completely, because we were able to fight from the south to the north, from the east to the west. And sometimes people tell us protests don't work. Some of them support rallies or boycott, but they keep saying the strategies of the oppressed is the most important thing. The oppressor should not tell you how to fight back, and they should not brainwash you by saying that protests don't work, because protests actually do work. If they don't work, the oppressors in Nigeria will not be so scared of even 5-man protests whenever they're about to happen. But we have been able to show to them, our comrades almost across the country and the world have presented themselves out of the realities and the trajectories of our struggle. Many, in the light of the Biafran struggle, the Yoruba national struggles, agree with the fact that what is needed is a battle intervention, while most of us still believe at these junctures the electoral intervention might help Nigeria. If the methods of agitation do not quicken the revolution from below, we will all stand defeated. So to fight for self-determination, we must be ready for a major revolt. This is why the Biafran struggle had more political impact during and after EndSARS protests than before, because there was a national revolt that empowered the struggle in the Southeast. The Yoruba national agitation also battered or was renewed after EndSARS. But in all, the persecution and the trials of the self-determination struggles and the leaders like Sunday Igboho, Maxim Nnamdi Kanu, the rulers' fear of EndSARS movement and more, it was why we were shocked when the North. We were not shocked, when the North is bleeding protests broke out. Yet, they never see anything. Youths in the North have risen, and all over is needed, all energy is needed in cementing our commerce all over the North to synchronize with those in the South. And we must say here that those who are saying that people in the North should be allowed to die simply because they did not participate in one struggle or the other should understand that our destinies are tied together. And you have seen it already. We have always said it. That it's a matter of time before these groups come together. That is the group from the South, from the North, from the self-determination groups, from the religiously persecuted groups. All these people are going to come together one day. And we are here as leader of revolution declared already in Nigeria to take this battle to the front lines and to the doorsteps of the oppressors of our people across Nigeria. The past 2 decades have twice shown that the pressing against oppression is very effective when everybody all hands are on board. Some of us have spent the last 3 decades of our lives fighting for a prosperous and democratic Nigeria. One major lesson that I learned as one of the fighters in all these major battles is that the oppressed people are really angry, but they do not have solidarity sometimes, and they do not have clarity to unite and go to battle together. This is why we have been here all the time, speaking to people who are going in different directions from time to time, that even while we believe that it is their right to fight whichever way they want, we must have the clarity that until the oppressed come together, united, not playing into the hands of the oppressor who divide us with different strategies, we are not going to win these battles very easily. So, as you have seen with Revolution Now, with Take It Back movement, and our political party, the African Action Congress, we are usually the quickest to enter into unconditional solidarity when our people are oppressed in IPOB. We are the quickest to enter into unconditional solidarity when the Yoruba Nation agitators are arrested or they are extrajudicially murdered. We are the quickest, without looking back, to solidarize with Shiites and ensure that their leaders are not killed, oppressed, or even their members are not extrajudicially murdered as the government would like to do. We have also further exposed to the world that there's no genuine person, interest, or group that is safe under tyranny. We must be standing with all oppressed people as our unity further divides and bastardize our oppressors. So there's an incoming issue of fuel hike, for instance, and many are already preparing to resist We must all start now to prepare against the Buhari regime over their determination or decision to increase the fuel prices across the country. Because this is going to sound a death knell on our people. If they are allowed to increase the prices of petroleum products, which they claim they have been subsidizing, you have nothing left in this country. There will be nothing left to eat, there will be nothing left to breathe. So be prepared. Be prepared. As revolutionaries, we will not be caught unawares. You can trust us on that. But we must deepen our solidarity with the working class so we can have the capacity and the audacity to take on the labor bureaucracy as at when it's needed. When you talk about labor bureaucracy in Nigeria, we can tell you categorically that the Nigerian Labour Congress is almost an appendage of the Nigerian government. So you cannot trust them. So we must have our own independent way of resistance so that when they come in and they try to sell us out, we will not cave in. We will continue the struggle. And we must stand with ASU and social other patriotic unions that want a better Nigeria and demand for a better welfare for all. And these struggles will show to the so-called rulers that we are never interested in what will not bring about a social welfare for the people of Nigeria, and not the one that has always fueled the big budgets that you see. That is the social welfare for the privileged. We must never allow any further increment in fuel prices. We are saying it here categorically today. We are making a declaration that if they increase fuel prices, they have dared us, and we will resist with all the energy in our arsenal. And when we say this, they understand what we are saying. Well, let me also quickly address the issue of our party and the need to radically engage elections in 2023. A lot of people have been asking, and I'm sure those of you who are watching and commenting know this. A lot of people have been asking, what are you guys doing next? When are you going to declare for the presidency? Well, let us maintain that we must engage in all spaces, and this has been our position, that will truly change Nigeria. The elections present a time to fight, but the Nigerian electoral process is full of illusions. So the battles over direct, for instance, the battle over direct and indirect primaries is some stupid argument that is premised on how the rulers in the two or the major political parties rig their internal primaries. In the first place, the independence of political parties is being trampled upon by the new electoral bill on doing interventions in party primaries. It should not be the duty of the electoral bill to determine how parties elect their leaders. That's the duty of the political parties. But you know the reason why they are interested in that distraction is that they do not want you to focus on the most important aspect of the electoral act, which is ensuring that all the activities that are engaged in our elections should be done electronically. If, for instance, you go to India, elections of over 1 billion people are held within 5 to 6 hours, you get the results. How is it that Nigeria cannot produce results of the election in a state as small as Anambra within such a short period of time? These are the things that we want people to understand. It's the reason why you have not seen us engage with this whole electoral bill issue. Because we understand that the leaders, the rulers of Nigeria are in cahoots with the so-called Independent National Electoral Commission, which is now completely populated by people nominated by the ruling party, the APC, the All Progressive Congress, or as people like to call them, All Promises Council, or All Past Criminals Congress. So we have not engaged in this argument because we know that it's subterfuge. is diversionary. So we must then keep calling on all the oppressed people in Nigeria to join the Revolutionary Party of the day, which is the African Action Congress. And through a movement known as the Take It Back movement, which you are all aware of, we need all of you to come together and start battling these spineless, criminal, and cowardly rogue leaders in Nigeria. That we can show, as the people of Nigeria, that we are the owners of Nigeria. So I therefore call on many of our friends and comrades who are yet to be committed to the party to start building now. We need to start as early as possible at the north. And we do not have the resources and the capacity that some of these criminal rulers have in their arsenal. But let me tell you something. You know how we did it in 2018, how with little resources and donations from all our people, we were able to fight very strongly and disgrace and demystify several of these money bags within our political system. So we have a world to win, but don't let us deceive ourselves. We are not going to win in 2023 by waiting for the elections to happen on the terms of our own oppressors. We must do it by ensuring that we introduce revolutionary politics to Nigeria. We must ensure that we challenge every aspect of the fraud that has become part and parcel of the Nigerian political system. And we are here on the ground to make sure this happens in 2022. While millions of our people are happy and partying, let us all know that the heavy borrowing that the Buhari regime is engaging in is so terrible that so many of our children and children's children, generations to come, will not be able to solve the Nigerian debt crisis. In fact, if we are not careful, by the time Buhari leaves power, which we will ensure happens as soon as possible, Nigeria would have been mortgaged to either China, the IMF, or the World Bank. There will not be a country called Nigeria again. We would have owed so many of these rogue loan sharks that we may not have a country we can call our own. So let all eyes be open while the New Year's celebrations are going on. And I can guarantee you that the New Year's will be the celebration will be very, very short this year. We're not making a prediction. It is because poverty is about to become very endemic. The value of the naira is gone, the so-called minimum wage, and we are at the mercy of one of the most corrupt governments in the history of this country. And apart from being corrupt, this is one of the most dishonest regimes that we've ever had in the country called Nigeria. I mean, I've never found a regime that is not dishonest, but this one has taken it to a higher notch. So don't let us deceive you that our struggle as it is, and as we've always explained to you, is beyond the shores of Nigeria. We have a war to win on the continent of Africa, and we have a war to win beyond the continent of Africa. Like the same song of Bob Marley, where he sang about Zimbabwe, where he says, arms in arms, with arms we will win. That is one of the most popular tracks that Bob Marley ever sang. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you again into the New Year's. And what I've tried to do in the last few minutes before now is to give you a holistic understanding of where we are going in 2022. And we would like to hear from all of you interactively regarding what you think, and if you have any questions, uh, comments, let's try and make it short and interact here on this platform and ensure that we get ourselves very ready for the task ahead in 2022 and beyond. So many of you like to ask about 2023, and you know our paramount answer. How do we get to 2023 without getting past 2021 solidly and getting past 2022 where we are now, and ensuring that the people who are making it a duty to ensure that you don't survive beyond this period are defeated before them. Thank you so much for listening, and I will take further questions going forward. Thank you so much for listening and watching our broadcast now.
Some people want to try.
Yes, Dr. Chidi, you are there. Thank you so much for taking that quick broadcast, and we can now go ahead. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. President. That was a very insightful run of the year 2021 in review, and a quick direction of what we are going to be seeing in the coming year 2020, in the year that we already entered, because we're already there, 2022. One thing you said is that the New Year celebration is going to be short-lived because government is waiting corner, and it's never been this bad. Okay. One quick question that we have out there already. Somebody said, what about the rogue? I don't know how it was. I said the rogue and the thief, Ezenwa, and AAC party. Somebody wants to know about the party and what Ezenwa was trying to do with the party. I'm going to take a call now, but go ahead and answer the question.
We do not have any problem with the control of our party, and whomever the state is using, they realize that those characters can no longer hold us down. So by later this year, I think some conclusions will be made regarding the court case that we had established. But already these characters are falling apart. From what we learned recently, he was removed from one of the positions that the state put him in as the chairman of the so-called inter-party group. That's an organization of political parties that he claims to be heading. He was voted out of the place because they have realized that he can no longer help them in the course of trying to hijack the party. But let me say that the party is in great shape. They are trying very hard to hijack the party, but we have resisted this, and we will continue to resist this. We will be resisting in court, and we will also physically resist it through direct peaceful action against INEC and the Nigerian government.
Thank you very much. I have a caller on the line. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Thank you, Doctor. This is Adam. I'm coming from New Jersey. I don't have a question. I just also appreciate the content of the show where what it does for the people. Like I said, I don't have a question. I don't want to hear the voice. Last year, I spoke to many of the other only. I can hear you. Very good to hear your voice again on the 4th of September. So, you're a strong man, you got the encouragement, and you have something to behind it. That's all I've got to say. Thank you, and have a good year.
All right, thank you very much. I think he heard you loud and clear.
I heard you, and I want to use this opportunity to wish you a happy new year, if you can be happy. It's very difficult to be happy when you have mass anger, hunger, starvation, and insecurity. People are just unsure of what's going to happen next, including in Abuja, where you have the national capital, the place that I like to call the Federal Capital of Peace, FCT as they call it. So, but to also assure Ayo and other people watching us today that we will be regularly communicating with you. We're working to reinstate what is usually known as the our time on the couch. So that is going on. We don't have a date yet, but you'll be on the lookout for those platforms where we constantly reach you. And we want to also encourage you all to keep in touch with us. We can defeat these people, and the period for their defeat is here. There's no question about it. If you followed us in 2021, starting from the beginning of the year, you would not think that we will make it to 2022 January, because it was in 2021 January that my nose was broken. In 2021, I was arrested, detained. The judges that were handling my case abandoned the case, ran away. It was in 2021 that they constantly started arresting people. They went to Gogo's house, shot and killed people, brought them to Abuja. We were the ones that went to court and challenged them with their DSS, who were wearing hood and carrying massive weapons. When Nnamdi Kanu was brought back, we protested against it, and we go to court every day. Each time I go to court or we go to court, they attack us. They break my glasses. They want to hurt us really bad. It was in 2021 in June that we had a protest, that we aligned with the Shiites, and a few days later, the Shiite leader that had been detained for how many years? 5 or 6 years, was released. So if we hadn't been on the ground resisting the evil of the Buhari regime, I cannot tell you where Nigeria will be today. And I'm not doing it alone. I want to appreciate all the young people who risk their lives across Nigeria, across even the world, whenever we call upon them or we agree to collaborate to resist these characters who are ruining Nigeria. And we call on you once again in 2022 that this is the year that we are breaking the chains of oppression completely. This is the year that we want to complete the revolution that we started, that they said was a joke in 2019. By now, nobody is thinking it's a joke anymore. Thank you.
Hold on. Okay, I have a call on the line. This is one of our very powerful comrades. I'll let her introduce herself and tell us where she's calling from.
Dr. Gini, and Happy New Year to you and your beautiful family.
Yes, we have Mr. Bo. We have Mr. President on the line. We're actually live.
Yes.
I'm watching.
Okay,
all right.
So you're calling into the program directly. He's listening to you.
Yeah, it's okay. I want to call into the program.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, just excuse my voice. I've been there a little bit. But that being said, I just want to Sowore.
Please, kindly introduce yourself so we know who's speaking.
I'm in Massachusetts. You guys know. I'm with Sowore 300%. This is 300%. That's where I'm at. And I want to thank you for all he has done in 2021 and all he's continued to do. We want to thank you for all the good he has taken for all of us. We're grateful, and I want to wish him a happy. I said yesterday I have to be ANC award. So I told that right now I'm really very busy because of I have a state inspection in my area, so I'm not really too current with everything right now. So I told them I will actually reach out to you, but now this is a free platform for all of them to hear and to know what's going on with the interstate PAC interstate chapter. Thank you so much, Sowore, and Mr. Sowore.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So,
Go ahead, Mr. President.
I want to thank you also, Angela, for the great work that you do. I haven't been able to come on your show frequently as I used to because there's always something to fight for on the ground here. And as most of you also know, this was a very, very tough year for me on the personal level. My brother was shot and killed in Edo State on his way back from school in 2021. My mother had a stroke, and I think I mentioned this to some of you before on the show. So I had to be juggling with these personal family tragedies, and in addition to that, having been removed from my wife and kids for about 2 years now, it takes its own toll. But it was such an interesting thing that we kept moving, and we must keep moving until we arrive at the final revolutionary destination. So many people are mentioning things that we did in 2021. We can't count, you know. Somebody just brought attention to the fact that we fought for our FACA students that were kidnapped, and when we went out there to protest, they were forced to release them the next day in Kaduna State. So we've done so many things and so much that things we never thought we could do. From the position that they tried to put us, we even did way more than that, to the point that it got to a point where people, even law enforcement officers, were saying that it was an error for Buhari to have kept Sowore in Abuja. Nobody kept me here. I decided that it was time to be home to fight the good fight. And I'm glad that I've had your support. It's a privilege, I keep saying this, it's a privilege to be one person in the middle of 200 and something million people, to be accepted to fight on behalf of people who have suffered and who continue to suffer. You know, that any little thing that we're able to do with your help, with your support, I see it as a privilege. So it's the reason why I'm very open and accepting of, you know, what the government does to me. Where they put me in jail, where they try to blackmail me, where they trail me around in Abuja, where they break into, attack me physically. And when they're not doing that, you know, they are also using the internet to attack us, to troll on my platform. But, you know, I tell myself, if all these things are not happening, you're not doing a good job. So, thank you so much, Angela. I just want to thank you. I want to thank several others. So many of you who, each time we reach out to you, or we don't even reach out to you, you support whatever we are doing on the ground. Some of you who, without meeting us before, organize on your own to fight the fights that are needed to be fought. And going forward, it has been established that if there's nothing at all called opposition in Nigeria, nobody can claim that we're not. We have formed a formidable opposition to a tyrannical regime. We have defeated them in several ways, even in their courtrooms. As you heard last year, towards the end of last year, when a judge decided that the collection of my private phone devices was illegal, and they were supposed to pay some damages to me, which I refused to pay, by the way, and they refused to return my phone. But I told them, when the time comes, we will get more than phones from them. They will pay for these things, not by just returning the phones, but we will ensure that no citizen of Nigeria is treated this way again. We will get to a point which we have already stated, where we draw a line in the sand. And you can only achieve this when you fight oppression in a way that you're not afraid of all these cowards and rules running Nigeria.
Okay, so she was asking about whether there's still AAC.
There is AAC in Edo State, but they just had their state get together. A lot of the states had get together. So, and I'm sure an AAC leader must be watching us from Edo State, and they can put in their comments. AAC is very, very much alive in Edo State, and we will, like I said, a lot of programming will come in 2022 that will enable people to understand more and better about these political activities that are going on across the country. But what we didn't want to do as a political movement is to focus only on registration of party members when the country is falling apart. So wherever it is needed for us to go and fight for people in the north who I'm sure cannot register for elections because bandits are killing them in droves, we fight for them. When it's time to fight for our southeastern brothers who are being killed extrajudicially, detained in army barracks across the country, we go out there and fight. Whenever it is time to even fight for soldiers who are themselves oppressed by their seniors, like the young lady who was detained for accepting a marriage proposal. It is that bad in Nigeria. We have to fight. We fight all these fights, and we hope and understand that our people also understand why the focus is on the revolution right now. So there's just so many of these things. I see some of our colleagues mentioning battles that we fought this year with lawyers, with our colleagues, comrades. It is unbelievable. But this wouldn't have been possible if you guys hadn't been there on a daily basis doing whatever you can, either directly or indirectly, to stem the tide of oppression and tyranny in Nigeria.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. President. There has been so much that was done in the past year, and because the focus was not in building up a resume, you don't even remember that. You have to be reminded of this thing. Someone just posted that we also fought for the NSAS protester. The pregnant woman was pregnant in Akure, where we also fought for her to get released, and so many other things that happened all around the world as a result of our activities. And on behalf of all of us, we just want to thank you, like Angela said, for taking the bullet literally for everybody, and you kept doing what you kept doing. I think there's a lot that people have been, there's a lot of comments that people have made. There's not much questions that they have, because anybody who is online seeing our activities, nothing was hidden. In fact, we became the only opposition that the government had to deal with. There was no other person that was talking, no other person was acting. So anybody who said they didn't know what we were doing, that person maybe was not online. So we really want to thank you for coming. Okay, I have a caller. I thought we were done. Okay, call on the line. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
My name is Monday. I'm calling from Germany. I'm glad to hear Mr. Onishi address us today. Even though the address I always want to hear his address. It's every day things for me. I hope it's look like the way it's not it. I will say what he has to say to us. But then I want to say a very big thank you, because he has given us more reason to be hopeful in Nigeria, even though we are not happy in Nigeria. But with him and God, we need our hope to manifest. Thank you very much. Mr. Chidi also wish you protect you, because I understand the sound of the life also, and to entire team.
All right, thank you very much. Well, this caller doesn't have a question. He just wants to thank you for the things that you're doing.
Yeah. I also want to thank you, Dr. Chidi.
And
We take so many of these things for granted. We take it for granted that you wake up every day, you don't sleep, you keep pushing information out there. There are times that for those of us who are on the battlefronts here, or the front lines here, our phones are seized, we're shut out, we have no means of communicating to the outside world. And I'll hear from someone that Dr. Shidi is already live. And we're wondering, how did he know that I've been shot? They said, well, he just called us and he's already live and making this information available. We take for granted the amount of energy, the sacrifices people like you make. And I want to thank you for the work that you've been doing, and we're sure you continue to do. Part of the reason why we didn't come here to reel out who we saved and didn't save in 2021 or even before then, today, it's because you cannot be claiming victory in a battle that is still actively on. We have entered into 2022. Buhari has not changed, Buhari has not left, and they are planning to put in the political system criminals and cowards. When we say criminals, we can say categorically that the likes of the former governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, is not only a criminal but a tired one for that matter. Or an Atiku, whose only achievement when he was in government was to create a private university while they were closing down universities at the public university. These are criminals who were even indicted openly. And for us to now want to replace this very tired, criminally minded Buhari with them, we are in trouble. And some are even mentioning Osinbajo, who is the greatest coward to have walked the surface of the earth. And when I'm saying this, Dr. Chidi, I'm here with them in Abuja, I'm here with them in Nigeria. I always challenge them. If I say something against you and you think it's not true, take me to court. I'll go there like Fela used to say, I'll open book for you. I can say it anywhere that Osinbajo is a coward. I can say it anywhere that Bola Tinubu is a thief. I can say it anywhere because the person who in 1999, who I met for the first time and the last time in 1999, who was wearing sandals, and couldn't even properly rub cream on his skin. Our boss, Obasanjo, openly indicted of stealing money meant for the Nigerian people and using them to create universities across Nigeria, very university, including Obasanjo himself. These are the people, these organized criminals running Nigeria, or the owners of Nigeria, as a friend of mine used to call them, are planning to impose on our people again. So it's very important that as we are wrapping up today, because we will be back, we engage with you on a daily basis, but this is a special kind of interactive session, that Nigerians don't come back and tell us that we should allow them to vote thieves in again because the thieves have experience in stealing. And when Nigeria start going down again, you now start calling on us that the thieves you voted in, you want us to help us unseat them because it's our job to be unseating thieves. Whereas when we present ourselves to you as credible alternatives and we throw our hands up and challenge anybody, if you've ever seen us steal before, if you've ever seen us being engaged in contract before, ever begged anybody for anything, you say no, it's true you are not a thief, but you have no experience. It's true you are not a thief, but you are not old enough. It's true you are not a thief, but you should go to the Senate while we put invalid thieves, criminals as president of Nigeria. These are some of the conversations we'll be having going forward because this is very, very, very important. And you know me, whether I'm in America or in Australia or in South Africa, I will say my mind. Even if you point a gun to my head, I'll say my mind. One journalist asked me recently, said, "Oh, don't you think you're going to get into trouble because you keep talking about the revolution?" And I said, everything that I've said about the revolution has been read into a court record. It's on record. It's filed in court. You can go obtain a copy of my written statement while I was in the DSS for 5 months. I kept telling them, if they wake me up at night, I say revolution now. If I'm going to bed, I say revolution now. When they release me first time, I say revolution now. When they adopted me again, I say revolution now. When they release me again, they say revolution now. Now they're asking me which date are we having a revolution. I said, now you're talking. And it will be very soon. But Dr. Chidi, we must seek your permission to end the broadcast.
Okay, let's take this last one. I kept on. This will be our last. Although there was somebody else calling, but please make your question very, very sharp.
Okay,
Go ahead.
My name is Jeffrey. I'm going to go ahead and be I was not being president because we knew that the Nigerians we always
We lost that. I think we lost that.
So what do we do about some Nigerians that are still in detention?
So there are some Nigerians that are still in detention while Dr. Chidi is trying to. Thank you so much. Dr. Chidi, since this is the last call, before I address the issue of mobilization, I want to mention that one of our brothers has been languishing in detention simply because he made a banter on Twitter. His name is Solomon Akuma. A judge in November even said that the charges against him were not properly filed and threw out the charges. But she refused. One justice refused to release him. And when he appeared in court for his final bail in December, she tried to force him to take another plea from the same illegal charge that was profiled against him. There are plenty of people who are hearing are still in detention who participated in ENSA. Some of them were even recently released in December. And we have 11 of those people in Oyo State in particular who are being tried falsely for offenses they did not commit. And this is why you should be careful about Nigerian politicians. There's a baby-faced crook in Oyo State. What's his name again? Makinde, who is always acting like a very nice person and people do know how to package themselves. And this guy has been prosecuting, the Oyo State government is prosecuting 11 ENSAS protesters that did not commit any crime. So we'll be working to make sure that this person is released. And let me use this opportunity to do something a little different as well, which is one of our big members who is also here online with us, Jenny B. Today is her birthday. I do birthday shout out. So Jenny B, happy birthday to you. And thank you for the great job that you do for us. Having said that, the last question was addressing the issue of mobilization of persons. I don't think we leave anybody in doubt.
Sorry, somebody also said we didn't address his question. We don't know what question he said we did not address, but just to let you know, there is no question that we have avoided.
If there's any question we didn't address today, we will address it tomorrow. No problem. We'll be back here. This is 2020.
Okay, go ahead.
Engage more.
Yeah, sure.
So, what I wanted to say to the brother who said, how do we mobilize people? Is that not to look, because one of our problems, one of the big problems we have in analyzing Nigeria problem is we kind of mislabel what these criminal politicians are doing as mobilization. If you know what they're doing this December, money that is stolen from the people, they're giving a fraction of them by giving them bags of rice, is it oil, onion? But you can imagine that in 2020, these same criminals had warehouses stocked with palliatives for COVID-19 and didn't give it to the people. They now rebranded some of those products and they are giving them out now for political reasons. If that's what people think is mobilization, it's not mobilization. That's not mobilization. That's thievery. That's robbery. That is criminal deception of the public. But when it comes to mobilizing people for the real social-political issues in the country, I don't think there's anybody who does a better job than us in terms of that. Even those who have been shielding Buhari over these years because he's a northerner have come to the realization that we have done a better job, even on behalf of people who are supporting Buhari and his people when they run into problems. They run to us. But today is not the day for braggadocio. What we're here to say is that in your minds, in our minds, and in our deeds, we want to create a new standard for getting rid of these political vermin from our social-political life. And we want and need your help. Mobilization is very easy. Tell people we don't want to continue like this anymore. That's the hashtag I started using from January 1. We can't continue like this. Tell them that. Tell them if they vote for thieves, thieves will steal their stuff. They'll steal their future. They'll steal scholarships meant for their children. They'll steal drugs meant for healthcare. They'll steal money meant for building roads and bridges. They'll steal money meant for water, potable water, and then package the water and sell back to you in what they call pure water, which is the most impure kind of water I've ever seen in my life. They will steal your national assets, use it to build for themselves, and then borrow to pay salaries. If you want to discontinue this, your options are very, very clear. Because we have all built our reputations around who we are. The thieves have done their own and they've done their worst. Let nobody come and tell us that, oh, I'm sorry, we just need Atiku to do another 8 years. You know, if they take another 8 years away from you, we are finished. Because for them, they always come back for the unfinished business. And if you're in doubt of this, those of you who are always doubting how we can do this, how did they do it in Peru 2 weeks ago? That they voted for a guy that was living in an apartment. As the only position I've ever had, or mostly had, was a student union leader in Peru. He's 35 years old. If you are not cursed, why would you ask decent people to go to the Senate and become councillors and local government chairmen while you are applied to have the most indecent characters in your country to lead or be elected to the most important position in the country? That's where I don't get it sometimes from Nigerians, because the options are very clear now. All these people who are planning to take over power, they will do you worse than you've ever been before. Those who will never cheat you, we're here. And it's up to you to decide. On that note, Dr. Chidi, thank you so much. We will discuss the details from time to time this year. Like we said, we've been at the war front since 2019. We're still at the war front, but you'll be hearing more from us so that we can have these interactive conversations. But even when you don't hear from us, please continue to spread, as they say, the gospel of freedom, liberty, and revolution.
Yes, revolution.
Now.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. This is the beginning of great things to happen this year.
Yes.
And this is what we promised the people, and I'm glad that we delivered. We told them. A lot of people thought that things had quietened down. I promised them, no. In fact, a lot has been going on in the background, a lot of efforts. I think this is a good time to talk about it. Just so you know, somebody was asking your opinion about the Biafra agitators and the Dudu agitators. Well, in here, but just to let people know that a lot of work, and when I say a lot of work, tremendous work is being done by Mr. Sowore to facilitate anything that will bring about the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And in the same vein, as was demonstrated in all those musical groups that you guys saw there, and some people didn't even know that it was Moele Sowore that brought them to the court. Some people didn't know that. And then Sunday Igboho, when they came to court,